Hello and welcome to the Eternal Witnesses podcast, your favorite podcast for competitive, modern, legacy, and vintage Magic the Gathering. I am your host, Mark Mara, and I am here with the 1-1 factory himself, the pinnacle emissary, Michael Mapson. Say hi, Mapson.
Hello.
We have a special guest with us today who we'll get to in just a moment, but I do want to remind you to make sure that if you're listening to us for the first time, or if you keep finding your way back here and you have not clicked subscribe on YouTube or added us into your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever your favorite app may be, now is a great time to do that. And by the way, we've just launched shorts on YouTube as well. They've been doing very well. Mapson interviewed quite a lot of people at Eternal Weekend and RC Houston. So we've got some awesome content on YouTube. If you haven't checked out our channel, you can see all of our links at ewcast.com. And so without further ado, YungDingo, hello, how are you, buddy? Good to have you back.
Good. I'm glad that the cops are coming from Mapson, by the way. They know
Yeah.
what he did. They know
in
the crimes that he's committed.
In case it gets edited out, there were some sirens in the background, and Mapson looked very guilty, but that's okay, buddy. Don't worry.
I always do.
You've got an alibi. We were here with you. So we've got a cool episode on tap today. For those of you that follow YungDingo's stream, you may have seen his descent into madness trying to trophy in the crazy format that is Modern. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He had the benefit of playing essentially the entire format versus the entire format. So some great preparation and maybe some things to avoid as well heading into RC Vegas in a few weeks. And we also have a Ban and Restricted coming up on November 10th. So that's 5 days away as of the time of this recording, maybe 4 days by the time this goes live. So perhaps some changes as well. So let's start with actually, one thing that I wanted to make sure we started with, I almost jumped right into the band talk because it's an exciting time. But if you listened last week, you know, I had not a great experience tuning into a streamer's stream after I had played against them in a challenge. It was quite a negative experience. And so, like, we wanted to make sure that we're putting some positive energy back into the universe. And Magic's such a great game. Like, we're all friends with each other through Magic. Never would have probably met either of you guys if I didn't play this hobby. So for better or for worse, that's something that came out of Magic. And so we wanted to start every episode just going around the horn with a quick story that made us feel good about Magic, or something that was positive in our lives as a result of Magic. So Dingo, as our special guest, why don't you go first, buddy? Give us a good Magic memory.
Okay, so last time I was on this podcast, you guys were like trying to get me to say what I was going to play for the Pro Tour for Edge of Eternities. And I was like, I ain't telling you guys, but I gave you a little sneak peek. I gave you the Splunking sneak peek. And I was like, I might be playing Amulet. And during my process of testing Amulet, I played a couple challenges on a super secret account, which I will not disclose. If you are that motivated and you want to find it yourself, I'm going to give you a couple of Easter eggs that'll let you find it if you're really that motivated. But I played a challenge on a super secret account. I played against Canister in the semifinals of this challenge. And mind you, this is my first time playing Titan. I have no idea how I even got there, like to the semifinals. I have Canister's article open on my other monitor, and I'm reading it while I have Escape Shift on the stack to make sure I'm doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing at all. I queue into Canister, and I play Amulet, second Amulet, Lotus, make 6 mana, play a Titan. And I'm like, what the hell do I do now? And he just scoops. And I was like, oh, cool. He must think I know what I'm doing. I don't. I have no idea what I'm doing. Game 2 rolls around. The same situation happens, but for him. And he goes, Amulet, Lotus, Titan. And I'm like, I want to see what he does. I have no idea. So I'm going to watch him and figure out exactly what he's doing. And then I'm going to copy that. So I make him go through the entire thing and put me all the way to 0. I'm like, oh, I get it now. And then I end up taking the match game 3. And then he was streaming this challenge. So I go back and I watch it afterwards. And he's like, in the middle of game 2, he's comboing off. He's like, I cannot believe this guy is making me combo off. I scoop to him when he has two amulets. He does not scoop to me.
Oh man,
Little
it
did
was
he
just a
know.
learning experience. It was a learning experience.
I was just learning because I didn't know what I was doing.
I love that you had his guide open on your other screen. That's like perhaps the best part. That's so good.
I
Whenever
had his-
Mapson starts going off, he's just looks at me as like, just kind of gives me a shrug, especially in paper. And I'm like, just do it. Just show him, like, you have to kill me.
And then I
Usually-
ended up winning that challenge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, usually most of my opponents just kind of let me show them that the cards are in my deck and don't make me explain it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That may be why we played a 2-hour finals in an RCQ once, was because I made you do it all. So that I may be partially to blame there. Okay. Mapson, good vibe story. Go.
Okay, so this is a bit of a cop out. Mark mentioned that we recorded a bunch of YouTube shorts. And when I say we, I really mean me, because Mark hasn't recorded any yet. And I'm also doing all the editing. So really, Mark's useless. I'm great. But
I'm more of an ideas guy.
no. Mark will be recording some in Vegas, though. And just the reception that I've been getting for them has been great. And also everybody just being happy and willing to be a part of things. Because especially when I was just walking around with a selfie stick, like some of them you'll see I have a camera person, which was also great because it was just people stopping up and being like, I can hold your phone for you. But people, bearing with me while I am awkwardly like, where do I put my arm? What's the angle? It was just, yeah, I really appreciate everyone for like sticking it out. I appreciate the people that are giving it a watch and leaving positive feedback. Getting a lot of views. I wish all of those people would hit subscribe, because that would get us to the monetization point on YouTube. Just throwing it out there, costs you nothing, gives us money, so that'd be great. But yeah, it's been great. And what about you, Mark?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've also been enjoying watching the shorts. That's not my good vibe story, but I'll say it's been, I was disappointed that I didn't get to go to Eternal Weekend, and I only had one invite, so I'm going to Vegas instead of Houston. So I missed both of those events, and so it's been a joy for me to watch all of your hard work just show up in my YouTube feed, and I get to enjoy the shorts for the first time because I have no idea what anybody said either. So if you like the shorts and you want to be in one, find me in Vegas, I guess, because apparently I just found out I'll be recording a bunch of them. So find me in Vegas. Cool. So my good vibe story, I want to talk about how I got into Magic. So I was in 5th grade. This would have been probably about 1995. So I'm dating myself a little bit here, maybe 1996. I distinctly remember spending my allowance on Homelands and Fallen Empires packs because they were $1 a piece, and revised packs had gone up to about $5 a piece at the time. And so, you get a $3 a week allowance. That's 3 packs of Fallen Empires or Homelands. Why would I save up for 2 weeks for 1 pack of revised? A fool's errand, you know what I mean? So, but the reason that I got into Magic was this kid named Kevin Grimaldi. And actually, I haven't even talked to Kevin in probably 30 years. I have no idea if he still plays Magic. Kevin, if you happen to be listening to this, hit me up, man. But he showed me Magic. So I think his sister maybe played. And just in the 5th grade cafeteria, like we had, some classes together. And yeah, we just like enjoyed nerd stuff together. Like we were in some of like extracurricular stuff together. Just kind of showed me Magic, and I was immediately hooked. And so like that became, just a thing that a lot of folks at school started doing. And I remember like, I actually changed schools the following year, but another kid named Adam used to have his like rubber banded unsleeved deck with like 6 Shivan dragons in it. This is before we knew any deck construction rules, and everybody just kind of played whatever they had. So yeah, just the good old days, the Wild West of Magic, 5th grade. My buddy Kevin, who I haven't even thought of in a very long time, just showing me the game, and I've been hooked ever since. And like a lot of people over the 30 plus years, like I've been in and out of the game at various points. I've had really long stretches where I didn't play, but something's always pulled me back. And it's a big part of why I have a lot of the folks in my group of friends that I have today is through Magic. So anyway, that's a positive story for me. And like I said, Kevin, if you're out there, buddy, it'd be good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. All right. So let's go on to bands. I think we just kind of go format by format and go around the horn. A, do you expect any changes? And B, do you want any changes? Like if maybe what you expect is different from your wish list, we'll go through there. So let's start with Modern. Mapson, Any modern changes on the 10th?
I don't really think there will be. And it's a little bit awkward because I do think if this announcement was happening at a different time, there might be. Amulet has been performing very well, and it is picking up in play to kind of a concerning point. I will say, I still think it's possible that it falls back down in line. I think people are playing a bunch of awful sideboard cards and being like, why am I losing to Amulet? But now, fortunately slash unfortunately, people have started picking up the Simic Ritual deck. The deck beats the crap out of us. So if more people pick up that deck and start packing Ashiaks and Harbingers, then I think the Amulet win percentage will fall back down. But I could hypothetically see them hitting something from the deck, maybe like Analyst, which would make the deck way less annoying because you would lose out on the loops, but still let the deck exist. And I guess I shouldn't say it would lose out on the loops because you could still play Lumra, but it would make you change the construction of the deck. So I could see them hitting something in there. But I have a hard time imagining them making changes in the middle of the RC season. Like, it's not even just like an RCQ season. Like, it's actually the RCs. People have been spending a bunch of time prepping. We already have to deal with a new set coming out. I just think adding this whole other variable too would be a little bit rough.
Yeah, fair enough. Dingo, modern changes.
What I think is going to happen or what I want to happen?
Both of them. Let's start with what you think is going to happen, and then tell me what's in your heart of hearts.
I think they're going to be boring as hell and do absolutely nothing and let us suffer with our 70 deck format, and, continue playing glorified rock, paper, scissors until the next BNR. Now, what do I want to happen? Remember at the beginning of the show where I showed you the stack of envelopes?
For folks that are not watching on video, Mr. Dingo here has a gigantic stack of envelopes he just held up to the screen.
Also, that was before we started recording, so don't be alarmed about yourself if you don't remember.
So now I'm going to ask you guys, what card am I investing in, let's say, that I think is going to come off the ban list? How many copies do you think I bought?
Coming off of the ban list. Okay. Well, I have a guess. Mapson, do you want to guess first?
Oh, coming off the ban list, I kind of want to pull up what's banned.
I was just pulling it up as well.
The first thing that comes
it better not be Summer Bloom.
comes to mind is Birthing Pod, which I don't think would be the case. Personally, I would like to see Dark Depths get unbanned. Solitude's one of the most played cards in the format anyways. I know what it is. It's Deathrite Shaman.
I was also going to say Deathrite Shaman. It's Deathrite. He's got a Deathrite Shaman. So your heart of heart says unbanned DRS? Okay.
Of Deathrite Shaman, do you think I purchased?
67, because it's you.
64.
64.
Very close, very close.
Man,
now,
oh man.
In my heart of hearts, I truly believe this card will save Modern. And I'm not even saying that as a meme. I think this card has the potential to fix Modern. Because it destroys Amulet, because you can exile all their lands and stop the Aftermath Analyst loops. And it's really good against Flage, which is a very popular, problematic card in the format, one of the best cards in Jeskai Blink. It solves the Flage problem. And Goryo's is a really represented deck that doesn't have a lot of main deck hate either. Bam. Goryo's, get out of my format. It's the perfect card. And it gives a boost to the green-black decks. And, it might homogenize these Esper Blink decks, make them a little bit better because, they got a mana dork that does it all. And it's great. But hear me out. I'm going to go all Einstein mad scientist on you. This card will solve the format.
I don't know where to start. So I'm glad that you like Deathrite Shaman. I hate Deathrite Shaman mirrors with a passion. I can stay on the ban list as far as I'm concerned forever. It's probably fine power level actually in current Modern. I don't disagree with folks that say on power level it would be fine. For folks that maybe got into Modern or played Legacy after Deathrite was already banned, it's important to note that none of the abilities printed on Deathrite Shaman are mana abilities, right? And just a reminder, if you're not a rules guru, mana abilities don't use the stack and can't be responded to. And so technically one of Deathrite Shaman's abilities makes a mana, but it's not considered a mana ability because it targets the card in the graveyard as part of the effect resolving, not as part of the cost. And so that gives your opponent an opportunity to exile that land in response, perhaps with their own Deathrite Shaman. And so you end up in like this Deathrite Shaman staring contest where the way you break parity is to just have one more Deathrite Shaman in play than they do. And every now and then it happens in Vintage, and I hate it. And I think it's okay if it stays in Vintage, even if the card is okay. I do not like the staring contest that happens in Mirrors, but 64 copies of Deathrite Shaman, you heard it first. The economist, magic economist, YungDingo has made his investment.
Not a financial advisor. Do not buy Deathrite Shamans unless it gets unbanned. Then you know what? Buy all Deathrite Shamans you want.
Well, and you know what?
So,
like
I'll have
I've also heard
buy 'em from
people.
me.
I don't want to jump ahead to Legacy, but I know that a number of people also support Deathrite unbans in Legacy. So you've got actually two shots at being right here, which I
That's
don't
right.
think either. I don't think either one will happen. But you have two shots at being right. What were you saying, Mapson?
So spoiler alert, I'm pretty on board with unbanned Deathrite and Legacy, but in both formats, it just like homogenized deck building to an insane degree. But there's also more answers to it. So like I kind of get where you're coming from. Like it's really hard for one drops to survive the turn anyways between like Unholy Heat and Prismatic Ending, and there's still a couple copies of Lightning Bolt, Galvanic Discharge, whatever. So like I guess in kind of more interactive matchups, it's gonna disappear a lot of the time anyways. So it's kind of interesting. I think when you said that this card is good against Amulet, I don't think that would be the case. Like it would be obviously somewhat annoying, but very beatable. Like this.
Trust me, it's very beatable. But it's like a slight little nerf to Amulet, and I don't think Amulet needs to be banned. I'll be frank. If you think Amulet needs to be banned, play the deck. It's way too hard. It is way too hard of a deck
And
to
also-
master.
And also the
justify that
best
card
the
being
best
banned.
sideboard hate for Amulet hasn't been showing up that often either, right? Like there's not as many Harbingers as there should be if you're really afraid of Amulet as the top deck. There's not as many like Torpor Orb style effects as there could be. Not a ton of Blood Moons out there, although I've been seeing a little bit more lately. So yeah, it's just like Ashiok, I know, is one that Mapson hates sitting across from. Like there, I think like a few decks have been playing a few of those, but I don't think that like too many sideboards have been geared to like, okay, not only is Amulet the best deck, but it's also like a 10+% play rate in large events. Like I don't think the best cards have been put in sideboards for that scenario yet. So I'm with you. I don't think it needs bans.
Yeah, I mean,
Even
I don't
though-
think it needs to be banned either, but I just
Even
refuting.
though people are playing like suboptimal sideboard cards for Amulet, Amulet still is not winning tournaments. One RC, but like since then, it has put up like one copy in the Pro Tour, one copy in the RC, one copy in the MXP events. Like it's just losing in the quarterfinals. Like I don't know. It's not proving itself to be like overly dominant. And I think there's a good reason for that because it's not that much better than the rest of the format. So I think a slight nerf to the deck in the form of Death by Shaman would probably be a pretty good thing. Just to stop Aftermath endless loops. Like if you have a one dropout, that's gonna stop or at least inconvenience your opponent by taking their mirror pool or their shifting woodland out of the graveyard. Seems fine, right?
Yeah, and there are a lot of like weirdo one-of lands in Amulet where if you exile it, all of a sudden it kind of can strand them in some instances. Like you take a mirror pool out of the graveyard and a lot of lines close and stuff. So it could definitely be, part of a strategy against Amulet for sure.
I do agree with what you're saying overall, but I do have to point out being like, oh, it just dies in the quarterfinals. It's not the most compelling argument if it's getting there every time.
I mean, it's like one copy versus like Jeskai Blink has had like 3 to 4 copies ever since it had the breakout run at the RC. It's been like 3 to 4 copies in every top 8. Like the challenges online has been dominating it. It's like Amulet really the thing that we hate here, or is it just annoying to play against Amulet because sometimes they kill you on turn 2 because they have the nuts? And it's like I think most of the time people are just annoyed that they die on turn 2 more than anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
As
And
the
like,
deck's
I do
especially,
agree.
dude, I agree 100%. Like, I think Amulet's also one of those decks where like a lot of players don't understand exactly what's happening to them. And so like that leads to some of the frustration as well, which is obviously not a reason to ban the deck. But like, I'll tell you, I was planning on playing Amulet in Vegas. I think I'm probably off of it. Just I'm too small brained for it for that long of an event. But one of the things I did was at Mapson's suggestion, I bought Ryan Condon's Amulet Guide. He went 7-3 at the Pro Tour with it, and basically the premise of his guide is like, I learned this deck in 2 weeks leading up to the Pro Tour. Like, you don't have to be a lifelong Amulet expert to perform well. And it's written from the point of view of somebody essentially coming in cold to the archetype. It was like, I think $15 or whatever. And even though I decided not to play Amulet, literally just reading that guide, he's got a whole section of like trouble you can get into and situations to look for and stuff like that. It helped me get a really good perspective on how to play against Amulet as well, and like exactly when to use certain pieces of interaction to maximize the impact. And so I think it's definitely very frustrating when it feels like a black box to play against because you don't really understand how it works. But like, you also don't get to be an ostrich and bury your head in the sand and then just like pretend the deck doesn't exist, especially when it's one of the most played decks lately, both online and in paper. You've got to have a plan to beat it. And so, I know there's plenty of other guides out there. I can vouch, for Ryan's guide that, I think it does a pretty good job of maybe not what it was intended for, but like giving you a little bit of insight in how to play against it as well. So yeah, good call out there.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that the best way of beating a deck is learning the deck and figuring out where the points of interaction are. Amulet has a ton of points of interaction. If you go for the one Amulet 4 landscape shift kill, there's like 90,000 ways for that little loop to get disrupted.
Yeah.
And if any of them happen and you try to play around one and then the other happens, you just feel like an absolute idiot. You're like, my God. And that's why, that bell curve where it's like, when you know a lot about a deck, you like start getting depressed, but when you know nothing, you're like having a great time. Because that was me playing Amulet. Like, when I knew nothing,
Yeah.
I was having a great time. I was just jamming, didn't play around anything, won the whole challenge. And I was like, this deck's insane. And then the more I started learning about the deck, I was like, oh, this deck's miserable to play. I constantly have to think about people consigning my Amulet triggers or having a surgical extraction at the wrong time. And I was just like, oh, the more I played the deck, I was like, this is miserable. This sucks. I hate having to play around each and everything under the sun because I get subtletied when I have a pact on the stack and I die. It was the same reason why I stopped playing Neoform.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and honestly, like all those scenarios are why I chose not to play Amulet at Vegas coming up, is because like I knew that I wouldn't put in the time to be proficient in all those edge cases. And with a 10% play rate, roughly, like it was, I believe, at RC Houston, you're not going to be able to avoid it at the top tables. And I want to avoid a situation where I perhaps luck sack my way into like a 5-0, 6-0, 6-1 kind of start. And then you start playing against A, the players that are very proficient in putting you into those edge cases and getting you in trouble, or B, mirrors where like you're just so far behind if you're not proficient in the mirror. And so it's like, you know what? I probably can't put in the work to get to the level of some other folks. I could probably be proficient at it, but like I don't have years of experience like somebody like Mapson does, for example. So yeah, that was kind of why I was off. So back to the topic though, modern bans. I'll close off the modern section here by just saying, I hope there's no changes. I think modern is very diverse and pretty fun right now. Not a perfect format, but it's like better than it's been in a very long time, and probably the best 60 card constructed format right now, honestly.
Something else I got to add in there real quick.
Yeah.
Deathfire Shaman isn't my only unban.
Oh, there's more. Holy cow. Yes, let's. Well,
oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Let's go.
I want an upheaval.
Okay.
Not actual upheaval. That card's trash. But I want, like, birthing pod unban. I want a ponder unban. Just play fast. Please resolve your ponders fast in paper. It's not an overpowered card. I don't think any of these combo decks, aside from maybe Neoform, are going to play something like ponder. Birthing pod probably just sucks because green creature decks suck. You could probably unban Jite. Stoneforge Mystic is unplayable right now. give Stoneforge Mystic a reason to be playable. Even if you stick GT and I don't know, Energy, it's probably not even that good. Like GT just it seems mid-minus to me. It would be a pretty good Urza Saga target, right? It's 1 CMC, is that right?
No, it's two. It's two.
Oh,
Lost
it's 2?
Lost
Okay. Can't
GT, the
even
fixed one
this
that's
card's
unplayable
trash.
is
This card's trash. This card's outplayable. You can't even search it off of Urza Saga. I thought you could. See,
I agree that
I'm
it's slow, but
advocating.
dude, I'm terrified of an Ocelot Pride having a GT on it. That would be miserable to be in combat against. But I don't.
It's just another victim of Wrath Disguise on top of that. It's
That
fine,
is true. That is Wrath the Skies is pretty good.
And you
All
can
right.
even unban Punishing Fire.
Man, where to begin? Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows. You want that in Modern?
Yeah, that's fine. These energy decks are spamming 10,000 tokens in the board on like turn 2 anyways.
I
Like,
think the
what do you
green-red
think
Eldrazi deck that's already playing or can play Grove of the Burn Willows, like that just gives an early answer to like a lot of the like Ragavan stuff that kind of steamrolls them. But I mean, hey, the last wave of unbans was awesome. So who am I to say that stuff shouldn't be unbanned?
I do want to say, if you're worried about people taking too long with Ponder, I think giving them Umezawa's Jute is going to add way more time as people are like, okay, I put how many counters on it? Okay, like what ability are you doing? But I mean, I do think the time concerns in general are people overreact to them. Just like tell your opponents to play faster, but Jute slower than Ponder.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Ponder was originally banned because of Storm, right? Same reason as Preordain, is it just made Storm too consistent. So it wasn't even like the Sensei's top thing where it was just taking way too long to spin top in Legacy all the time. I think Ponder was fine. Yeah, I know like Jerry T on his podcast was talking about, when he did some work at Wizards. This was before the Preordain unban, that the somebody somewhere had like floated out the idea that like at one point Modern will be at a power level where you could unban Preordain and Ponder, and then shortly after that came out, that episode came out a while back, they unbanned Preordain. So I've been anxiously awaiting a Ponder unban since then. I think Jerry the Oracle shared an inside scoop there. So I'd like to see Ponder unbanned, but I think for me, no changes. If anything, it would be Aftermath Analyst. I don't even think the loops in paper are a problem, but it's like truly miserable online. And I know that they typically don't care too much about a divergence between the online experience and paper experience, especially now with like the Through the Omen Path stuff, which I'm not even going to touch with a 10-foot pole. But, they've kind of shown in multiple different ways of both flavor and function that they're okay with online functioning a bit differently than paper. But that would be the only thing, is I think if they did ban Analyst, it would be because it's truly terrible to play online. But I don't think Modern needs any changes. Legacy, Mapson, what are we doing with Legacy?
So Legacy is awkward, right? Because we've had the same format for a year, essentially over a year, with people complaining. And obviously there's been minor differences, but a year ago, Animator, Forge, and Nadu were the best decks. And if you look at now, they're still the best decks. Personally think the Reanimator gameplay is miserable, and I think people find it miserable. So I think at this point something needs to go regardless. I know a lot of people are looking at Tamiyo. I think Tamiyo is actually pretty fun. Personally, I don't know. You can call that a wild take. I think it offers certain challenges and makes you play in unique ways. So I kind of hope they leave Tamiyo, and I kind of expect them to leave Tamiyo. I would like them to hit Reanimate, personally. I think Entomb doesn't see a lot of play outside of the deck, but I do think it offers cool situations. Like, I think getting to Entomb for Echo of Aeons, even though I'm miserable when it's happening, I think it's cool in concept. I think being able to Entomb for, like, a Life from the Loam or a Worm Harvest, which I understand nobody's really, like, entombing Worm Harvest, but just I think the ability to
literally
do things
nobody's
like that is
doing
cool.
that, Mapson. Not a single human being on Earth is doing that in 2025.
But like you understand what I'm saying, right? Like I think it leads to cool things. I don't think Reanimate leads to cool things, and I think you can remove Reanimate. The deck can still exist playing Animate Dead and just be a little bit worse, and that way you get to keep kind of this iconic archetype, but hopefully put it a little bit more back in its place. I am totally fine with something leaving from Forge. I don't, again, I wouldn't want to kill the deck. I think it's like a cool and kind of unique deck. Like, I I don't really feel like we have something like that in the other formats. Like you kind of have Jewel is like the closest comparison in Vintage, but like that's, a format that doesn't see a ton of play. And I do think those decks are somewhat different. Um, so like I know everyone's really high on hitting the One Ring, and I almost expect them to, but like I kind of don't want them to. Um, I don't know, maybe just hitting Tezzeret or something where again the deck still gets to exist, but is just like a little bit worse. And then leave Nadu alone. You guys are all just haters. The bird is the word. The end. Also, unban Luris. I say it every time, and every time everyone tells me I'm psycho. But unban Luris, unban Deathrite Shaman, which is both good in and against Luris. Again, so many things you can do to remove this card on turn one now. Or Deathrite Shaman helps keep Reanimator in check if you don't do a lot to it. It can help keep Cephalid Breakfast in check. It can help keep Oops in check. I know Oops hasn't been problematic, but if Reanimator numbers go down, then Oops numbers will go up as Graveyard Hate goes down. So having a main deck answer to that miserable experience would be great. Just, I don't know. Like, if people are worried about them ruining the format's been kind of objectively not great for a while. So just like, who cares? If you make it bad in the act of trying to make it good, like just fix it in a couple months. Like you can undo everything. It's fine.
They made this ban schedule, and darn it, they will stick to it no matter what, Mapson.
Sure, there's no events anyways. Who cares? Your Moto challenges don't fire for a couple months, and then we fix it in 3 months or whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they're gonna stop firing anyways.
Fair enough. All right. Dingo, do you have any legacy? Don't say unban Yawgmothswill. I swear to God, don't say it. I know you like casting tendrils.
I would never say that. I'm happy that Vexing Bubble's gone because I've just played Legacy for the first time during the weekend of Spike's wedding. There was a Legacy Super Qualifier and a Legacy RCQ on Magic Online. I played both of them. Of course, I was playing Ant because that deck's, let me tell you, it's so sick, man. Anyways, I really enjoyed the new Legacy format of Vexing Bubble. Vexing Bubble was horrible, terrible. I hated it a lot. I went 5-4 during one of the tournaments, and then I had to go 4-2 drop on the second one because I actually had to go to Spike's wedding ceremony. Otherwise, why the hell did I go to Texas in the first place if I just went there to play the Legacy Super Qualifier? It's like, sorry, Spike, couldn't be at your reception. I'm 4-2 with Storm right now. I'm killing it. Anyways.
If there's anyone that would understand missing their wedding, I mean, it would probably be him, but wise choice.
Yeah, I mean, he does love Storm too, so maybe I could have gotten away with it. Regardless, I hated Vexing Bubble. I'm glad that's gone. Frog, sayonara, see you never. Tameo is my new gripe. That card, holy. When they go Tameo, Brainstorm, flip Tameo, Force of Will me, untap Tameo minus pickup Force of Will, I just want to die as a combo player. I'm like, how do I ever beat that? How do I ever beat 2 Force of Wills?
Do you want to know the best way to beat 20 goblins? Just uptick Tameo, buddy. 2 loyalty, cancel out 20 gobos.
We don't do goblins anymore here.
That's right.
We do dragons.
Responsible to do goblins in 2025. Irresponsible.
Elemental Eruption, though. That card slaps.
That's a good one. All right, so what's the actual prediction? Do you have a legacy? Is it just ban Tameo?
I would probably ban Tameo if it were up to me. And then I'm looking at the Timeless format right now, and I'm like, damn, they have 4 Strip Mines and 4 Ren and 6 in that format. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do. It's time for Ren and 6 to come back.
Unhinged. Completely unhinged, Dingo. I expect that from a person with Deathrite, 64 copies of Deathrite Shaman on their desk. Okay. So I think for Legacy, what I would like to see and what I think we're going to see are 2 different things. So I'll say what I think we're probably going to see is they ban Planner Nexus out of Mystic Forge. It keeps the deck around, but it makes the Candelabra shenanigans less good, so that's obviously a downgrade to Candelabra, but it leaves Urza's Workshop and the rest of the mana base in a decent spot without letting you completely play through Null Rod. So I think they'll probably hit Planner Nexus. I think they'll probably ban Reanimate, and maybe that's it. Maybe Nadu, maybe not. What I would like to see is I would like to see them ban Daze and unban Ragavan and unban Dreadhorde Arcanist and leave Tameo alone. Like, the one thing that's in common with all these cards is that they are all protected by a ton of free spells. And so I think that now that Force of Negation is printed, there's now 8 spells that you can use defensively to protect your board, all at the cost of a card. And I think in a format like Legacy, where everything is congealed around 1 and 2 mana and free spells, there's no actual tempo loss in returning an island to your hand. And in some cases, it's even preferred with the Surveil lands so that you can get an extra bonus Surveil when you do have extra lands. I just think Daze does too much for too little. And there are multiple cards on the BNR and now more cards in its sites that frankly are very answerable, except that if they stick around for a turn or two, they run away with the game, and Daze lets that happen. So anyway, that's my hot take. I think that we'll see a couple of cards banned out of a couple of the top decks. I would love to see Daze go and a bunch of unbans and just see what happens from there. And if something out of Mystic Forge has to die for that to happen, I will gladly sacrifice it. Just please leave the ring around. I like playing the One Ring.
Can I say before we move on from this segment?
Yep.
Urza Saga, man, ever since that rules change, I think maybe that card's gotta go. Not being able to die from Blood Moon, and then not only not dying from Blood Moon, but also retaining the ability to make constructs, I think that card is so obnoxious in Modern, and probably Legacy also. But I don't know, you have Wasteland in that format, so it's a little different. But in Modern,
Yeah.
I think maybe if I were to ban one card in Modern, I don't think Modern needs bans, but if I absolutely had to ban a card, I'd pick Urza Saga.
I'll tell you what, I've been eyeing with great fondness these Ice Till Ghost Quarter decks, and I keep trying different shells. I never goes well, but I really want to be doing that to people. And
You know
I
why
think it's been interesting to
going
see
well?
an uptick in Ghost Quarters. Why's that?
Because you're not ghost quartering yourself enough.
Dude, every time I turn on your stream, it's like the turn cycle in your brain is like untap, upkeep, draw. Can I kill my opponent? Should I ghost quarter myself? That's like that's like your first 4 steps in your decision tree. Untap, upkeep, draw. Can I kill my opponent? Should I ghost quarter myself? Every single turn that you have a deck with ghost quarter in it, dude, completely unhinged. And then like the one time that it's right, I thought you were going to do a backflip out of your chair. Oh, I need the color. I'm going to do it. I was having such a great time. Am I supposed to ghost quarter myself? Never. You're never, like, literally never supposed to do it.
That's not true.
By Urza Saga Chapter 3, and I felt like a giga Chad. I was like, yeah, give me that source, give me that
That's
color
a good
source.
one. That is a good one. That is a good one.
It is worth noting, if they banned Urza Saga, that would be a hit to Amulet, and it'd also be a hit to Affinity, which has started putting up good numbers. Not saying I think that deck needs to be banned, but
yeah, as somebody that's been playing a lot of Affinity, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a second, it's the deck loses to itself kind of a lot. It's like you win by a mile and you lose by a mile, and there's very few games that are anywhere in between that. They do exist, but in my experience, they're quite limited. Quick take on Vintage. So, by the way, for any Vintage lovers in southeastern PA, just want to shout out On the Draw Games in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. They recently started doing a proxy-friendly Vintage Friday Night Magic weekly, which is sick. So in addition to their monthly, they call it a 1K, but the prizes scale with attendance. We actually just had 20 people, so it was a true 1K over this past weekend. But I went 1-2 drop, so we won't talk too much about that. But just wanted to shout out for the Vintage
I
fans.
beat him.
He did beat me. I just want to shout out to Vintage fans On the Draw in Pottstown, proxy-friendly 1K monthly, and proxy-friendly Vintage Friday Night Magic now, which is so sick. So Vintage, I think no changes. Vintage is fun. Leave it alone. Nothing's egregious. Do you concur, Mr. Mapson?
The format has been pretty fun. I do wonder, there's like a ton of Loris, and so like sometimes I wonder, like, does something need to be done about that? But also the Loris decks are like somewhat different from each other. It's like blue-black plays out differently than the Esper deck, plays out differently than the Bug deck. Obviously, those three are similar, but they're all different, and those are different from PO, which is different from like Breach. I don't know. Format seems good, but like I don't have a lot to go off of. But I've played against a variety of decks. I am having fun when I play. My opponents seem to be having fun. It's a good time.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago that our shop's overlords dominated Vintage and everything was just getting taxed out of existence. And so, I think the fact that there's a variety of blue decks, even if they are centered around Luris, I think that's probably fine. You ever play Vintage, Dingo?
I'm gonna turn this into an initiative rant.
I played Initiative and went 1-2. So if you're going to talk about how good it is, I don't have any sympathy for you.
No, I'm not gonna talk about how good it is. I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
about how. Can I cuss?
Sure, I guess. Well, you get one.
I get one.
He's
I
actually already
used my
had one.
earlier. Yeah, I already used my one
Okay.
earlier when I was talking about the canister thing. I hate initiative. Anytime somebody pulls out that stupid dungeon sheet, my blood pressure raises to like 180 over 120. I'm like ready to punch the air. Like I don't want to read all of this subtext just to figure out what your one little stupid keyword that says initiative does. I hate that mechanic. That is my least favorite mechanic in all of Magic, and I hate how rampant it is in Vintage, so I will never touch that format until they get rid of that commander mechanic.
There we go. So if you happen to be playing in a legacy event that Dingo is in, definitely play Initiative when you get paired against him. Pull it out of your backpack, even if it's not the deck that you registered. Just show him, sit down and show him the Initiative tokens, even if you're playing something else, and you will immediately have begun your mental warfare. I love that. I'll say, yeah, I already said no changes. Standard? Do we care about standard? Ban standard.
I mean,
I guess.
do. Honestly, I've had a good amount of fun playing the VV deck. I just won an RCQ. That was totally legitimate and definitely a lot of rounds. I think the VV deck is fun, and I am going to miss it. I do acknowledge that it needs to go. Like, this isn't me being like, oh, leave it alone. The format's good and healthy. I just think the deck's very fun.
I watched a bit
You
of
know
the
what?
Spotlight series thing over, was it this past weekend or the weekend before? I forget. Time is all running together for me lately, but there were like multiple games that were won from the VV deck where they didn't even have a VV in play. They just like drew 5 cards and then had like 3 combats with profts in play and fear of missing out, and just like put a bazillion counters on all their stuff and did like 50 damage in one turn. I mean, even if they whack VV, is the rest of that shell still a deck? Like, I don't play it standard at all lately, but like it seemed, at least just from kind of watching in the background, that the deck still does some pretty busted stuff even without VV in it.
Yeah, I mean, it does. So I'm definitely curious to see what they're going to hit, because before VV existed, Blue-Red was like already the best deck in the format. So like you can take out Cauldron VV entirely and still have a functional deck. But obviously those cards add a lot of power. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them hit something in addition. Like, I don't know, maybe they'll hit VV and Profs. I haven't given it a lot of thought, but I definitely think there is an argument for hitting more than one card out of that.
Yeah, fair enough. Dingo, any standard thoughts?
Well, upon hearing Mapson talk about VV, an image popped in my head. It's actually a meme of Ludwig, where he says, "Drunk driving is good and fun," and that's what it sounded like was coming out of Mapson's mouth. VV Cauldron is good and fun. No, Mapson. Actually, you're kind of right. VV is fun. The deck is very, very fun to play. It is very not fun to play against.
I love that. On Arena, by the way, did you see they updated like how they do the alchemy stuff? Not that I pay too much attention, but somebody pointed out, maybe it was you, Maps, and that they changed VV so that it's a tap to activate, and now it just goes like infinite with like a million different untappers now. So they fixed it and made it like even more egregious in alchemy, I guess, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I played that deck for the first time a week ago at an RCQ. It was like Tuesday at 3 p.m. RCQ.
Yeah, by the way,
Very
unhinged
legitimate.
start time for an RCQ. What on earth?
Right? Oh, the one yesterday that I went to was Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Unreal.
It's like, this is either going to be the softest RCQ of all time, or it's all the unemployed grinders and there's no in between. Regardless, I top 8'd both. I lost in the quarterfinals of 1 to black-white control tokens-y fountain port stuff. I had a lot of fun playing VV, and I played it again. I didn't even know that Winter Night Stories had harmonized for the entire first round of the first RCQ until somebody told me.
That's an
They're
important
like,
one.
you had
Yeah.
lethal, bro. Just flashback your harmonized card. And I was like, that card has flashback? I already had like 7 cards in my hand. I was like, why do I need to? Why does this need flashback? I was already winning by a mile. Anyways, the deck's crazy. The deck takes way too many game actions for a standard deck. I actually tried playing VV Cauldron as a stock standard list through a modern league, and I took a match. I went 1-4, but hey, at least I took a match, right? Like, the deck is not standard power level, and it has to go.
Yeah.
I was playing the deck on Arena, and it was like turn 4 or 5, and I attacked for like 60 with like 1 creature. That probably shouldn't be legal
Yeah, that's
in standard.
Probably not legal for too much longer. All right. So that's the BNR summary. I'm not going to even try to talk Pauper. We would all embarrass ourselves. So ban Pauper. Moving on. Dingo, you recently took a slow march into insanity in front of a live studio audience. Why don't you tell us, like, what was the challenge, and how did you even get started on this thing?
I made a sub goal based on somebody's idea that was, hey, you should try to trophy, but every time you lose, you have to restart the league with your opponent's deck. And I was like, wait, that's a genius idea. That's like such a fun, like, little 8-hour stream. Tops. I'll probably get in the first try because, I got it like that. But apparently I did not got it like that, because I did this stream and it took me a whopping 59 hours of continuous streaming before I finally hit the trophy on the 47th attempt of doing this challenge with none other than turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer himself, Big Turtle. And it was just like the most discouraging yet inspiring thing I think I've ever done, because I now realize I am truly a streamer of the people. I am not good at Magic.
Chat level play for sure at some points, but I guess that's excusable after, having stream open for 40 plus hours. So I know that you did sleep, but you didn't close stream. You had like reruns running of the run and other things, but you pretty much like slept and played leagues until it was done, right? Like, there wasn't too much time for anything else in there.
I didn't do anything else. I slept for 5 hours a day, and I played Magic for the other 19, pretty much. Just nonstop grinding the leagues over and over, day by day, getting so close, getting 6-4-1s, just to not have this challenge completed for 3.5 days.
So the very first run, I tuned in as you lost the 5-0, right? So like there was something with a psychic frog where what exactly happened there? You could have had the 5-0 on the first try, right? That's like the best part of all of this. There was like, what happened?
Okay, my opponent attacked me with 2 3/3s, the Myco spawns. I had a frog, I was at 3 life, I had an edict. For whatever reason, I thought this edict was a shoot the sheriff. So I was like, block with frog, shoot the sheriff. Oh my god, this is an edict.
He sacked the block.
So they were going to
sacrifice
the blocked one and kill me. So I threw the very first league, not on purpose. People are like, this is rigged. No, I did not throw that on purpose. I'm an idiot. And I threw that first game, and it caused me approximately 57 hours of suffering from that one small mistake of thinking my edict was a shoot the sheriff.
I love that it could have been over in like an hour, and instead it was 60 hours.
It would have been the most boring, uninspiring challenge of all time if I do it on the first try. And instead it became like a heroic tale of I've never had more viewers in my life people were just trying to tune in. They're like, did he do it? Did he do it? Is he stop being an absolute idiot that doesn't know how to play the game very well? And the answer was no, not for 57 hours. So it was
Do you remember how many 4-0s you had? You had a lot of a lot of shots at the 5-0. You started 4-0 multiple times. Do you remember how many?
There was six 4-0s.
6 shots of greatness.
Were with Blue Black Frog. 2 of them were with Affinity. I have a whole data sheet, but I can kind of go over some of the win rates of decks if you're interested, because we had some very peculiar decks pop up during this challenge, including the S tier decks that were 75+% win rate. Now, keep in mind, this is a small sample size. These decks are probably not going to be super accurate to what an actual tier list is over a bajillion reps, but over my 59 hours, S tier was Grixis Persist, which is the Bin and Archon with Frog and Emperor Bones are persisted back.
I
Blue
just want
Black
to
Frog.
point out real quick how perfect it is for you to start off by saying Grixis Persist is S tier, because last time you were on, of course, you were saying the deck wasn't very good, and then Mark won a challenge with it the next day, and now here you are back just saying it's the best deck in the format. So I just want to draw attention to that really quick.
Draw all the attention you'd like. I stand by what I said. That deck is trash. Blue Black Frog, 8-2. That deck's kind of nice. I'm really excited to try the Wu-Tang Owl in that deck. I don't remember what the actual owl's called. It's like Wang Ti or something. I
No,
don't
it's
wanna sound
it's
racist
Wu-Tang
either.
Owl. But here's
Wu-Tang Owl.
is that real though? Because I mean the not the Wu-Tang Owl, like the blue black deck, because I love that Murktide style of strategy. But like it just feels like you can never catch up once like the white red or Jeskai decks start going wide. Like did you find that that's not the case, or like does the 1-to-1 removal just trade so well with like the Jeskai deck that it doesn't matter? Like I'm guessing, or I guess what I'm asking is like, do you feel like you got lucky with Frog performing so well, or do you think like it actually belongs in the meta right now?
I think it does have a place in the meta. It needs like maybe 1 or 2 buffs to the deck. New cards, which is why I'm like pretty excited to try the owl in this shell, because I think having another access to a flash threat while holding up counter magic is going to be valuable. But I think a lot of people forgot about Blue Black Frog, and now there's a lot of people playing glass cannony combo decks. They don't respect the Blue Black Frog having a lot of counter spells. So this deck destroys Titan. This deck will destroy Storm, anything that's like trying to be a linear combo deck.
Yeah.
But it also just has like a fine 50-50 coin flip matchup against like Jeskai Blink, I think. So if you tech for certain matchups, I do think that the Frog deck could be really good. I think you're going to struggle a little bit against Affinity because, unless you have your Mystical Dispute for the Pinnacle Emissary, it's really, really hard to beat Pinnacle Emissary tokens, surprisingly, unless you have Engineered Explosives or something in the like. But overall, I think that Blue Black Frog is a really good deck. I wouldn't be surprised if it had like a breakout performance sometime soon.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I saw some Frog lists that started showing up with like 2 or 3 EEs in the sideboard, which is funny because the Affinity list runs like 3 to 4 of them main deck. So it's kind of funny that like one of the best weapons against it is also Engineered Explosives. But yeah, that was sort of interesting to me, seeing that out of the sideboard to help clean up the tokens and constructs.
Yeah, then we went Gambling as the next S tier deck here. Hollowvine had a 75+% win rate. I believe we were 4-0 with that deck as well. Just cast my Goblin Lore, crossed my fingers, and got there. I even forgot to cast the Hollow one time after I like Burning Inquiry into it. Very embarrassing. Won the match anyways.
I saw that. My wife goes, "What are you yelling at?" And I was like, my wife doesn't know Magic. I was like, he didn't cast a Hollow one that was free. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, don't worry about it.
I'm glad that my reach extends to the rest of the family over there, because
That's right. Katie looked at me like I was a moron, but I was like, "No, you don't understand. I'm not the one that messed up here. It wasn't me."
You're like, you don't understand. I'm not the moron. This little guy in the box right here on my screen, he's the moron. And it was actually, it brought me to one of my favorite quotes from this entire challenge. Was somebody put in the chat, "The little man in the box is getting sassy." I pinned that for the rest of the stream. Funniest comment I've read in my entire life, I think.
So good.
Anyways, the last S tier deck was Blue Red Wizards, which actually had a really good performance at MXP Tacoma. It got top 4 at the 20K in Tacoma this past weekend.
So this
Very
is
good
like
deck.
this is like Tameo, Thunder Trap Trainer, Flame of Anor, kind of like blue-red control pile.
Yeah, it's not playing Thunder Trap Trainer. It is playing Tameo and Snapcaster.
Oh, okay.
And Flame, and just being like a blue-red control deck. The problem with that deck is that if your opponent ever resolves a Riddler, you can never take it off the table. You cannot take that card off the table. That thing has 6 toughness, and your Flavor of Door deals 5 damage, and you hate everything, and everything sucks, and that's why you gotta play on Holy Heat. That's a tangent for later, though.
I've also been saying to anybody that'll listen that I think Path to Exile is criminally underplayed right now, and that could be potentially something into moving from like a blue-red shell into like a Jeskai shell is something I've been kind of tinkering around with a little bit as well. Like, I don't know. I just think that, 1 mana solve anything, any creature in the format at instant speed seems really good right now, and I don't necessarily know that putting a land into play is the biggest drawback right now at the moment compared to what you get for it. Because even with Unholy Heat, I mean, they start exiling cards out of your graveyard with different things, and it's like, Unholy Heat's not online anymore. You feel kind of silly. So yeah, Riddler with 6 toughness. I mean, you can't even dismember the thing. Like it's pretty brutal without unconditional removal to be able to point at it.
Yeah, this might be a little unhinged, but I was pitching in Modern Horizons 4 that they make a Revolt Unholy Heat. That's it. Just Unholy Heat,
Sure.
but the condition instead of Delirium is Revolt.
Yeah, I love it.
Might be too good, but I think it would be a really good buff to red removal and, make Titan and Flage and Riddler less of a problem overall.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I also like cheap, efficient answers. A tier, we have Mill, which is, surprise, surprise. Mill pretty good when Titan's so rampant. Get to, mill their stuff, extract their Titan, have a good time. Jeskai Ascendancy, the old Cutter, Emery, Tameo Shell. Very, very strong when you get to repeal all your own stuff and then trigger Cutter multiple times a turn. Jeskai Blink, the deck that won the RC, pretty good as well. Can't really call a deck that won an RC bad, right? And then we got Affinity, which is the most high rolly deck of them all. That deck works in nothing but extremes. You either extremely crush your opponent with a turn 1 5/5 pretty much hexproof, or you have a bunch of 0-drop artifacts in your hand, no payoff, or you have hands that are like 4 lands, Metallic Rebuke, Thought Cast, Kappa Cannoneer. You're sitting there like, what am I doing with my life, man? And then finally, in the A tier to round it out, we got Prowess. Pretty good deck, I think. Very aggressive. Best aggro deck in the format by far. Sorry, Energy. You didn't quite make the cut there. But Prowess has a lot of efficient answers to things. You got a lot of good sideboard cards in Prowess as well. And you get access to Unholy Heat, which I think is a great card right now. Everybody should play Unholy Heat. Unholy Heat's amazing. Play Unholy Heat. Answer Riddler. Riddler doesn't need to be banned. Stop this ban talk. Oh, we got to ban Quantum Riddler. It's too strong. Play a good removal. Play a good removal. Be the Lyndon Coots of the format, whom registered Blue Black Frog, splashing red just for Unholy Heat and 3 baubles. We crack the bauble, we turn on the Unholy Heat, and we kill that Riddler.
There you go. That's a good one. Unholy Heat, pretty good. You heard it first. That's everything that's over 60% win rate. And in case it wasn't clear, the tier list here is based solely on win rate during the challenge. So that S tier list of Persist, Fog, Hollowvine, and Wizards was more than 75%. Then that A tier, Mill, Jeskai Ascendancy, Jeskai Blink, Affinity, and Prowess was greater than 60%. So effectively between that 60 and 75% win rate. So then, yeah, in the B tier, Titan, Energy, Phoenix. Was this like the Dredge one where it's playing like lava darts and stuff like that? Or was this like blue-red with demi-liches and stuff?
Blue-red with lich and cantrips.
You lost to that?
Yes.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I was playing blue-green Ritual, and they didn't cast anything because everything comes for free out of the graveyard. So even though I counter their spell, it doesn't matter. So I was sitting there with a bunch of flares in my hand. I was like, this oh, sorry, that's my second time. This sucks.
So funny. And so then I assume like C tier and O1 drop tier, just like obviously lower than 50%. So there was Tron, Brood Scale, the Ritual deck. And then the O1 drop tier was Grixis Wizards, Blue-White, Blink, Living End, and Miracles. What deck were you
destroyed by Miracles?
Do you remember what deck you were playing when you lost to Miracles? What happened?
Was playing some Oh man, it was some deck that got hosed by Narset.
Oh,
I don't
sure.
exactly. It was a blue-green ritual deck again. That deck sucks, man. It got like my opponent played a Narset, and I was like, yeah, I can never beat this. I'm like sitting there with Ice Fang. I was like, I was about to flash my Ice Fang, then play it to Teferi, and I'm like, okay, I lose.
You're like, my Fibble-Thips do nothing. No,
my Fibble-Thips, my everything. I don't know how people play with that blue-green deck. The only good matchup that blue-green deck has is literally just Titan. That's it. It's just it has a good Titan matchup, nothing else.
That's so funny. I was talking to somebody the other day about how Quantum Riddler is the best Think Twice they've ever printed. So Think Twice, for folks that maybe don't know, is one in a blue. I think it's an instant draw card, and it flashes back for one in a blue. So I was joking around that, like, between they've been printing a bunch of Think Twices. Like, there was one in a recent set where it was like draw a card, make a clue, which is effectively 2 cards for 4 mana. Riddler's got 2 mana, draw a card, and then you cast the rest of the card, you get the second card. So I've been joking that they've been trying to make good Think Twices, but I think Riddler is a very good Think Twice. I think Fibblethip is perhaps the worst Think Twice.
That is true.
Yeah.
Can I talk about how this challenge ended?
Yeah. Okay.
It ended in the most bizarre, strange league I've ever seen. Round 1 was black-white necro dominance with what's that dude's name? Like Veto or something. Whenever you gain life, your opponent loses that much life. And they're playing Children of Corlos. So that way you sack you pay like 19 with your necro, you sack the children, then you dome your opponent for 19 with the Veto.
Yeah, so let me pull this up just so was it Children of Corliss? Is that what it is?
Just type Children of, I'm sure it'll come up. Or Children.
Or is it Child? Is it Child?
I don't know. Child of something.
Oh yeah, Children of Corliss. Yeah, here it is. Maybe I just spelled it wrong. So it's 1 white for a 1/1 creature, human rebel cleric. Sacrifice Children of Corliss. You gain life equal to the life you've lost this turn. So you just pay a ton of life, sack it, gain a ton of life, and then Veto triggers, and you just dome them. Is that kind of what they were going for?
That's exactly what they were going for. And they absolutely perfectly curved out on me game 1 while I was playing Affinity, and I was at my all-time low, just like, I'm losing to literal children in Modern right now. Like, I was at rock bottom. I ended up winning the match despite getting Force of Despair a bunch, and then I queued into Mono Black Burn immediately after that. And they also had Force of Despair game 1 for my Pinnacle Emissary Kappa. And I was like, this is unreal. Like, how am I queuing into so many Force of Despair decks? And I almost lost to a Sorin, the flip Sorin.
Yeah.
That was on 9 loyalty, that was threatening to take my Kappa Cannoneer. And, like, it like, takes it, and then it gives it lifelink or something like that.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. And then I top decked Engineered Explosives, put Engineered Explosives on too, popped it, and then my opponent just didn't draw another relevant spell for the rest of the game, and I barely lived. So that was crazy. And then I queued into Blue-Red Phoenix again, the same guy that beat me the first time, queued into me again, except I took it this time because turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer's busted. And then I played against Black-White Land Destruction. This was the most cursed league. They had like Vindicates, White Orchid Phantoms, and I'm sitting there with all my Moxen like, yep, tap my Moxen for mana. Can't blow this one up. So ended up taking that, and then we finally got a real deck during the last match, which was Tron. And I like turned 2 Blood Moon Tron because, Mox Opal was a mistake. So that was my challenge. That was the last league. You can watch it on my YouTube channel right now. It was really, really funny because I was very depressed during most of it, especially after getting boo-fooed by Force of Despair over and over. So good watch if you want some quality entertainment of how this challenge ended.
Yeah, it was great. Day 1, you were so full of hope, and then by the end, I wasn't sure that you would play Magic anymore. But I'm glad you got the victory.
Yeah, so Mark and I are actually in a Discord with a bunch of legacy players, and there was just like a whole channel in that Discord just like dedicated to watching you play this league and comment on your emotions, and like these people who like don't even know how to like what decks exist in Modern, and we're just like, we're rooting for him, like he better not be streaming when I get home from work today, like.
Yeah, there's like a random channel for people to just post content, like links or whatever. And whenever you were 4-0, there would be a post, he's 4-0 again.
I'm telling you, every time I was 4-0, it was like insane viewership spike. Everybody was like, yeah, let's go. And then I would choke and they'd be like, see you in 8 hours, idiot. And I'm like, wrong.
Man.
It was 27 hours.
Yeah, so back back when I was in college, I was like addicted to League of Legends. And I remember watching a video where somebody was like, I'm gonna play this champion. This champion's so busted. And then like they go and get killed. And then they're like, oh, that character's OP. Like, I'm gonna play a match with that person. And so it was essentially the same thing as you did with your challenge. And I remember thinking, huh, like, it's a really funny video, but I was like, maybe I want to do something with like that for Magic. And I was like, no, no, that sounds dumb. It might never end. And yeah, I'm glad it was you and not me.
Oh, let
I
me
think
tell
we all
you,
feel
it
that
felt
way.
like it was gonna forget again.
Yeah. So what'd you learn?
What did I learn? No, every deck in Modern is shit. Every single one of them. They all suck. Not a single deck in Modern feels good. Not even the deck we trophied with. Affinity, that deck loses to itself more than any other opponent out there. If you just have to take a mulligan and you just have non-functional hands, guess what? You're on 5 cards, you're never winning that game. I don't care how powerful of a wizard you are not winning with Affinity on a mulligan to 5. You are also, I don't care if you're playing a different deck. If your Affinity opponent goes turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer and you don't have a free spell to answer that, guess what? Welcome to game 2, buddy.
Yep. So if you had to pick a deck to 5-0 with, so obviously you did not have that luxury during this challenge, but like having played all of the decks in the format, if you had to pick a deck to get a 5-0 in a league with, like what deck would you hand select to make that happen?
Oh man, there's a few decks I think are really good, but I don't know if I have full 100% confidence in. Like if I had to make my own tier list, I'd probably put S tier as like Amulet, of course, because why not? If you're proficient at the deck, it's gonna be really good. I put Prowess up there. I think Prowess is actually one of the strongest decks in the format. It's got a good showing. It has really good game against Flage. I actually got stuck in a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors triangle situation where I would play Jeskai Blink, and then I would lose to Prowess. I would play Prowess. I would lose to Broodscale. I would play Broodscale. I would lose to anything in the format 'cause that deck doesn't function. And then I would play anything in the format. And I would lose to Jeskai Blink. And then the cycle would start over. And it happened like 4 times in a row. And I was like, what is happening? Why can Prowess not be Broodscale?
That's so funny.
It was crazy. But
I actually think 5-0ing a league with Amulet is kind of difficult right now because every other opponent I run into is on Simic Ritual.
Yep.
People like that deck, man. People like putting permanents into play and looking at cards and taking game actions. And I mean, you have the surprise harbingers that you can sometimes get some people sleeping with that don't fetch in response to your birthing ritual trigger. So I get why people like it. But yeah, in my experience, like once you're behind with that deck, unless you hit like a god tier shardless agent into ritual, into like exactly what you need or whatever, it seems like really hard to play from behind with that deck. You really want to be playing from ahead with Flare of Denial up, at least in my limited experience. So I don't know if that mirrors what you guys have seen, but it seems like a fun deck. I get why people like to play it, but yeah, it seems really hard to catch up in Simic colors in Modern right now when you're behind.
Yeah, the main problem with that deck is it just has no good removal. You have 2 dismembers and a dream, and if something sticks you can't dismember, guess what? You're gonna get soloed by it. If it's like a Riddler,
do they play a Quantum Riddler and you need both dismembers and to pay 8 life? Like, come on.
Or you have to like chump block, or not chump, but like bounce block with your Oculus over and over, and it's just like, this is miserable. And if they have any answer to your Oculus, you're like, well, I'm back to being behind. So not being able to take things off the table is a very, very big downfall of the blue-green ritual deck. I think it is a fun deck. I actually played against a build of blue-green ritual today that was playing Young Wolf and Yawgmoth as well, just like thrown in the shell. It was really strange.
Why?
I didn't expect it, but it was really cool looking. I mean, the Young Wolf seemed good because at least it gave the deck a 1-drop, so you can go like, Young Wolf into Birthing Ritual, sack the Young Wolf, get a 2-drop, and like at least start chaining up from there. But the Yawgmoth itself does not look very good because that deck didn't have any way of gaining life. You have to play like a Blood Artist or something.
Yeah. Although playing a Yawgmoth gives you something to do with your Fibblethip when they have a Narset out. You can at least sacrifice it to put a counter on something.
That's what I'm saying. But I think a lot of the red-based decks that are playing Unholy Heat are very strong right now. I think decks that are playing Blood Moon are very strong right now. Riddler's obviously immaculate. And Steel Cutter surprised the hell out of me. Steel Cutter was soloing these Jeskai Blink decks just by itself because they had a really hard time taking it off the table. If they didn't have Prismatic Ending exactly for it, they couldn't really take it off the table. And unless they were going over you with Flage, they were just dying to Steel Cutter. Even when they had Solitude Ephemerate, the Steel Cutter was just outvaluing them. And I was gaining a bunch of life, so I wasn't dying to the Solitude Ephemerate. I'm just like, Cutter, every turn, Cutter, 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 Cutter. And they would just die to these tokens. So if Jeskai Blink's gonna be popular, I'm a big fan of Cutter right now.
Yeah, I've really been liking the Cutter decks. Not prowess as much. It's very powerful. It's just, I'm drawn to Mox Opal and artifact-based strategies in general, and so I've been enjoying trying out a few different builds. Like there's like the Jeskai Ascendancy version, where Cutters are just sort of incidentally in there because they make the tokens that can get infinitely big and have trample when you're comboing with Ascendancy. So if you're not familiar, Jeskai Ascendancy is an enchantment. It's white, blue, red, and essentially when you cast a non-creature spell, there's two different triggers that happen. One lets you untap all of your creatures, so it's like very easy to go infinite with Emery if you have a bauble that you can sacrifice and bring back over and over, or two of the same legendary 0-drop, like 2 Mox Opals or 2 Mox Ambers, lets you cycle them in and out of the graveyard, among other ways to go off. And so the other part of the text is that and the other part is you draw and discard, and everything gets +1/+1. So it essentially lets you like filter through your whole deck and make your guys rather large. And then if you've got a Steel Cutter equipped, they also have trample and haste, so you can just kind of get in and kill all at once. So that's fun. Very disruptible, but fun. And then there's more of like the Tamiyo Emery, but instead of like Kappa and Pinnacle Emissary, you're playing stuff like Repeals and Cutters and stuff like that, which has also been fun and is a little bit more grindy and resilient than Prowess, but it's a lot less explosive. But yeah, I've been enjoying playing with all of those cards in different permutations. I haven't found a 75 that I've been in love with, but I agree. I've been having a ton of fun with Cutter, and it's been very impressive. And God forbid you ever stick 2 Cutters against an opponent that's not prepared to deal with it. The game is just over so fast. My biggest problem is Wrath the Skies, which is a pretty common problem with these low-to-the-ground artifact decks.
Yeah, and that's where certain tech like Metallic Rebuke, Swan Song, that one Spider-Man card that lets you bounce a tapped creature to counter Wrath the Skies. These are all coming up
Spider
as like
Sense.
Spider Sense.
Oh wait,
They're all,
to counter Wrath of the Skies.
I believe it counters an instant or sorcery or a triggered ability.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
look at that. Here, let me pull this up on screen. That's interesting technology here.
In my head, it was just Stifle.
Yeah.
No.
So for folks that aren't familiar, it's an instant that's 1 and a blue, obviously out of the Spider-Man set. It has web slinging blue. If you're unfamiliar with the web slinging mechanic, shame on you. Basically, you can pay the alternate web slinging cost instead of the actual printed cost on the card. So instead of 1 and a blue, you can pay the web slinging cost of just a single blue, and you return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand, and it counters an instant, sorcery, or triggered ability. So it's like half of Consign to Memory and kind of a negate, I guess. Well, not quite negate, but instant or sorcery. What's that? Is that a null? I'm getting all of my spells wrong here, but
Not at all.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah. Negate's the closest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Swan Song-esque. I think it's a pretty good card right now. Just like how Strict Serenade is a pretty good card as well. So all these 1-mana cheap counters, like Mystical Dispute too. Mystical Dispute's at like an all-time high, I think. It's such a good sideboard card against Affinity. You get to, hit the Pinnacle Emissary, hit the Cavern Cannoneer. It's good against the Riddler decks. Mystical Dispute stocks have been going up for sure. And I think all these cheap 1-mana blue counter spells, including Consign to Memory, have all been increasing in stock. So,
yeah, Mystical Dispute also has the Mystical Dispute also has the hidden mode of I never play around it. And so if you just leave 1 blue mana open, I look at it and I say, they've only got access to like 1 or 2 of them. They don't have it, and they always have it. So it's if you happen to get paired against me, Mystical Dispute is probably the best it will ever be. That's guaranteed.
Mystical Dispute is very, very powerful. I did want to mention, though, overall, throughout the entire challenge, I had a win rate of 59.29%. And given that I had this win rate over 47 tries or so. I was 3% to not have trophied with that win rate by the time I was on attempt 46. I was 97% that I should have been done with that challenge by then. Statistically speaking, I was in the 3% little minority corner of the bell curve. Was like, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to have been done with this a while ago.
Testament to your persistence.
Somebody's like, all these stats nerds were like, here's all these like graphs and charts and stuff about how this is going. And I was just like looking at it, I was like, this is so cool, but also, how am I in this position? Like, this is so unfortunate to have been at the 97%er and not have hit it yet.
Oh man, I love it. So we're getting close to time here, but with RC Vegas coming up in a few weeks, I'm sure a lot of folks are keeping a close eye on some of these paper tournaments that have just happened that we've talked a little bit about, and of course the Magic Online meta. I'm not going to ask you like what deck are you going to play. You can tell us if you want. But like, what are some cards where, you know, if a listener is not locked in on a specific deck for the RC, what are some of the cards that you think are really well positioned now that they should look to find a way to put in their deck or to select a deck, you know, based around those cards? What do you think is really good in the meta right now?
I think there's like a square of the format. The 4 pillars of the format are Affinity, Titan, Jeskai Blink, and Prowess. If you pick any of the 4 pillars of the deck, you're in a good spot. If you pick something in between the pillars of the deck, if you pick like a hybridization of any of them, you're probably fine. A variant even of any of them, you're in a good spot. I would say unless something crazy comes out in Avatar, like the owl ends up being super good and it ends up taking over the format, I would expect that one of those 4 decks is where you want to be, or some permutation of one of those 4 decks, because I think that if you're playing Prowess, you have a fast clock plus cutter plus efficient removal like Unholy Heat. If you're playing Affinity, you know, you got turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer at its peak. You got Blood Moon out of the sideboard to deal with Titan. If you're playing Titan, you know, you kill people on turn 2 sometimes. You got your Aftermath Analyst loops. If you're good at the deck, you know, you got Beseiju, which is super powerful right now. And then lastly, Jeskai Blink. It's for all the people that really just want to play something remotely fair, but you can't accept that it's not good to be playing something remotely fair, so you're going to do it anyways. That's where you get to cast your Flage, you get to cast your Fellier, your Riddler, and just play a very mid-rangey, efficient removal strategy. And it's, you know, it's good because you got your free spells, your Solitudes, you got your Teferi to play Hearthstone with, so good deck.
Yeah. Fair enough, fair enough. And we've mentioned the bird or the Wu-Tang bird a few times now. Probably worth like actually telling folks that haven't kept up with the spoilers what the card really is, because this is a neat one that was spoiled recently for Avatar. And if there is going to be a significant shift in the meta, I think perhaps a card like this might be one to cause it. So not quite as scary looking, I guess, as Warp was when we first looked at it as far as like abusability. This is a bit more of a fair card, but on the surface, it looks like it's going to be a really good one. So it's Wan Shi Tong Librarian, and it costs X blue for a 1/1. It has flash, it has flying, it has vigilance. When it enters, you put X 1/1 counters on him and then draw half of X cards rounded down. So it's got that Hydroid Krasis text on it, essentially. And it also has whenever an opponent searches their library, aka fetches, or the amulet opponent searches, although if they're searching, you're probably dead, so it doesn't matter in that case. But whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card. And so it gives you access to resources. It can be flashed in response to a fetch. It scales with the game, which is something that you always look for in these cards, is how good is it early, how good is it late. The fact that it has flash means it fits well in that Murktide or Dimir style of play where you want to hold up interaction and then flash it in. and the fact that like late in the game it puts cards in your hand, early in the game it's just a punish piece for searching that also puts cards in your hand. I think this is going to be something that does show up in multiple constructed formats, and the only question is going to be like how much, because I think the rate's good. I think the ability is really good. It says draw a card on it in 2 different places, or draw cards in 2 different places. Like, I think this card does an awful lot. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. I think out of all the Avatar stuff we've seen so far, this is the most interesting for Modern and Legacy.
Another thing that's interesting about this card that I just noticed while you were talking, it's got relevant creature types. So Spirits is a deck that has existed in both Pioneer, if anyone remembers that format,
Never
and
heard of
in
it.
Modern. So like this probably won't bring back the Spirits archetype, but it could.
Yeah. No, it's good. And in it's a bird, so in Legacy, you can put a Cavern of Souls on bird and cast this and your Nadu. I don't think they necessarily go together, but it's a thing you're allowed to do.
That card, I actually got to do a little bit of playtesting with that card and against that card. I used a tabletop simulator for it actually, and I played against Titan when I was playing Blue Black Frog, and I like flashed in the owl, and my opponent went T-West Transmute. I drew a card. Summoner's Pact. I drew another card. And then grabbed Titan. I drew into Subtlety because I drew those 2 cards. So I subtletied the Titan and it died.
Yeah. Well, that will definitely happen. There will be a lot of times where you'll just draw cards and then die, but when you draw into the free counter spell to win, that's pretty funny. I will say this will make Titan even more annoying to play online, because now you can't just, if you have this in play, you can't just F6 while they're doing their loop if you don't scoop to them, because you could draw into that specific situation. So this perhaps makes, by extension, playing against Amulet even worse online if that was somehow possible.
It's true. I think that card's also kind of nice in the blue-green ritual deck, excuse me. It's kind of nice. It's a curve filler, draw some cards, sacks the flare at the very worst, has flash, kind of fills the Ice Fang Quaddle little niche that deck's looking for. So
Yeah,
I
it
wouldn't be
does.
surprised if it sees some play in that deck as well.
Yeah, it does kind of a lot for sure. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we're getting close to the point where we have to wrap up here. Any final thoughts for RC Vegas attendees, just, you know, heading into the final RC of the Modern season in the US here?
Honestly, Modern's so wide open and you can do whatever you want. Just play whatever you think is the most fun. Whatever you think is the most fun, whatever you know the best. If you stick with it, I think that you will have success. Because I don't think you can metagame for such a wide open format and have like a relatively good idea of what you're going to play against. I would say just play something powerful, linear, regardless of what you're playing against, and you'll probably get the job done.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I mean, I do think there is a little bit of metagaming that can be done, but the format is still pretty diverse. And if you know the deck that you're like, if you enjoy the deck you're playing, I'd much rather play, let's say, like Brute Scale at 60% than like Jeskai at 55.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. My suggestion would be, if your deck can support Ashiok in the sideboard and you don't beat up on Amulet with your main deck, play 2 Ashioks minimum in your sideboard if you're in blue or black. That would be my advice to you, because Amulet will definitely be there. And you can tell if you're watching on YouTube that Mapson just gave the thumbs down while I was saying that. That is a surefire sign that that is a great hate piece against Amulet. If it gets a thumbs down from Mapson, you should play it in your deck if you're worried about Amulet.
I do have one more piece of advice.
Yes.
Play Deathrite Shaman with it. It gets unbanned on the 10th.
I would wait
You're
until
welcome.
the 11th before making that decision, just to be sure. I
Nope.
don't get your
Submit
hopes
it.
up.
Right now.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Fair enough. All right, Mr. Dingo, thank you for joining us, sir. If folks want to check you out, where can they find you?
Twitch.tv/YungDingo, Twitter.com/YungDingoMTG, and YouTube.com/@YungDingo, where I go live for my live streams both on YouTube and Twitch, and I have all the VODs of everything I ever do ever over on my YouTube as well.
If you're listening, you can also find the links to all of Dingo's content in the show notes below.
Fantastic. And if you've made it to the end with us, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, click like, click subscribe, send us to your friends, and check out the new shorts that we've got coming out. We've been putting them out every day or every other day, so there's a lot of great Eternal Witnesses content for you, and you can check it all out at wcast.com. That's a wrap.